One tarnation? I meant to do that.
Hi folks, this is Apple Geek, and here we are with another episode of the final season of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. This is episode 5. I know absolutely nothing about this, so without any further ado, let's give it a watch. Starting now. Derpy! Ooh, mail delivery.
Twilight, Mail's here!
Aww.
Are you alright?
Is this good?
We just had a really heavy delivery today.
Is it a deluxe set of special edition ogres and oubliettes figurines that I'm totally surprised by and haven't been hinting that I need forever?
Really?
Oh, it's for Twilight?
Oh.
Thank you. You're welcome. Huh, it's from Princess Celestia.
Okay, so...
So's this.
Okay.
Really? She couldn't have put it into the box?
My dearest Twilight, I have been conducting a thorough cleaning of the castle, and I came across a few items of yours in your old room. I thought you might want them back. I didn't even know I'd left anything.
Oh, what do we...
Aw, look! Remember this?
What's that a picture of?
It's the macaroni picture frame Cadence helped me make when I was a filly.
Oh!
Who could forget a masterpiece like that?
What else?
What? Star Swirl figure. Favorite school scrolls. And here's my extra credit report on the impediments of using magic in everyday chores. Ah, still so true.
Is my Smash Fortune comic in there? I've been looking for that for years.
Oh boy. That's a lot of that clock. Wow.
Oh no, oh no, oh no!
Hey?
What's wrong? It just looks like
Is that a library book she forgot to return?
Exactly! It belongs to the Canterlot Library. That means it's...
Yep. Torty!
overdue.
Wow, I'm not really sure where this is going, but I think we're gonna see another Twilight freak out here. Derpy, anytime she's on screen talking is absolutely amazing. I'd hope this would be her episode. Clearly not, but oh well. Anyway. By the way, I found new pear flavor Red Bull. This stuff's awesome. Just wish I had apple to go with it.
You don't understand, Spike. I have a perfect library book return record.
Oops, not anymore.
A perfect record.
Oh, I've never turned in a book even a minute late. And this one
It's years.
overdue since I left for Ponyville.
Nice way to not put a time frame around that. Point of no return. Oh no.
Make sure you bring this one back on time. We've got a long waiting list of ponies who can't wait to read it.
I promise I won't let you down.
Oh no.
Of course you won't, dear. If there's any pony I can trust to take care of a book, it's you, Twilight Sparkle. After all, you still hold the best book borrower title.
Wow, we're really laying this on thick.
Hope I do forever. Spike! Quick, find me that old copy of Predictions and
Oh, flashback!
Well, it was a gift from Moon.
Season 1 deja vu.
Oh, Spike, you know we don't have time for that sort of thing.
Oh,
Celestia sent me to Ponyville
that's
and I
what
forgot all
happened to
about
it.
this. Dusty Pages prided herself that no books were damaged
Dusty
or
Page,
lost on
interesting.
her watch, and I failed her. I failed myself.
I take it we're going to Canterlot?
Yeah. Right now.
Sooner the better, I guess.
Yeah. Let's just get it over with, man. Really?
Why are we hiding? Don't you want to return your book?
Yes, but what if some pony sees me in there? I'm the Princess of Friendship. Everywhere I go, ponies recognize me. I'll stick out like a sore hoof.
Do they now?
Twilight Sparkle.
We haven't really seen that
Library?
too
Stop
much.
the presses.
Don't get a good deal, Spike. What if Dusty Pages revokes my library card?
That
Or bans me
face!
from ever entering the building again?
That's not gonna happen.
Don't you already have most of those books in your collection at home?
Yes, but the ones in there have a special Canterlot library in East Mel.
You sniff books?
You don't?
Wow, okay.
I used to live in a library. If I'm not a good example of proper book borrowing behavior, then what kind of princess am I?
One that makes mistakes like every pony else. Trust me, once you return that book, you'll feel way better.
Thanks, Spike. Let's go. Ah!
Oh, hey there. Forget what her name is, but yeah.
Quiet!
New librarian.
I have a book to return.
Really?
Princess Twilight! So good to see you!
You know, the cutie mark on the back kind of gives it away.
From the new release section? Is that the new edition of Moon Curve 7 Theories on Bending Time? I have been waiting for the release and...
Oh!
no books today.
I saw that
Thanks.
Salvador Dali thing in there. I think it was
But
Salvador
I do
Dali.
need to speak with Dusty Pages about a sensitive matter.
Yeah.
Who?
You mean?
Dusty Pages?
She's retired.
The head librarian? She's worked here forever.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Princess. I don't know her. Now, was there some other way I can help the library's best book borrower?
Oh no. That sounds like she's voiced by Tabitha.
Just ask her where to return an overdue book. It's no big deal. It happens all the time.
Not to me, it doesn't.
Nice Maniac comic.
Fine. Fine! Oh no, I didn't even think about the late fine. About this long will probably cost 1,000 bits.
Oh no!
We have an overdue book.
Oh, well, that's no problem at all. In fact, it happens all the time.
See?
I'll just find it in the card catalog. Number 18905. Got it. Oh,
Really?
wow. I haven't seen a book this late in, well,
Ever.
You need to go and see First Folio in the grossly overdue book return office for ponies who should know better.
Any punches with those names, do you?
And that office would be?
In the basement, because of the shame.
Nice face plant.
Whoa.
Oh no.
Looks like no pony ever goes down here.
That's
No
sign back
pony
there.
except undependable
What's
rule breakers who deserve all the horrors this hallway holds.
What's with those
And
lightning bolt
faithful
signs?
dragon companions. Hey, it looks like First Folio left a note on the door.
Abandon hope, all ye who enter.
Out to lunch on Restaurant Row. Guess we'll have to try back later.
Oh
No.
boy.
I can't wait another minute to return this book. In the time it took us to get there, I racked up another 17 bits in late fees. We're
Really?
going to lunch.
Good, because I'm starving. Oh, you mean to find First Folio?
Yeah, obviously.
Can we at least get takeout?
Tell me
Oh!
if you see any librarians.
Nice callback.
Twilight.
Spice
we
up your
tried
life.
3 other restaurants already.
And my late fines are already up another 26 more bits.
Ugh. Good to see saffron masala again?
Waiter, we're ready to order.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm
you-
not actually.
3 samosas, 2 curry specials. Do you think that's enough for the 2 of us?
I would probably order some naan as well. Maybe
Spike!
Sounds great.
Twilight, is that you?
Dancer.
Who doesn't?
I'm just visiting. No real reason.
You know,
Well, it's good to see you.
I-
I'm just meeting my friend. First
I
Folio
wondered.
Lunch. Do you want to join us?
First Folio, yes. I mean, thank you.
Princess Twilight.
Oh
Did
no.
you know your picture is still up in our library? as
Yeah,
a
no
best
public
book
shame right in
borrower?
front of one of her friends.
Yeah, I was hoping I could talk to Dusty Pages about that.
Oh, Dusty Pages left the library moons ago. Didn't you know?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I heard she was forced to leave.
What?
So sad. She loved the library.
Wait, forced to
What?
leave?
No, no,
Yeah. She had a perfect librarian record.
no.
Until one careless pony didn't return a book. Ruined it all.
Okay, Twilight.
Uh-huh. Do you excuse me?
That's why you only order spicy, if you can take it. Twilight, what's wrong?
Dusty Pages isn't working at the library anymore because
This is highly implausible.
I think I got her fired.
Oh, this is going from bad to worse.
Twilight, the library is
Stuck
that
up
way.
ponies.
Change of plans. We're going to Dusty's house. She used to invite me over for tea all the time.
Oh
What
no.
about your late fees?
They're not as important as making things right.
Wait,
Oh.
so you're not going to return the book?
No.
Yeah, eventually.
Pages is. It's my fault she lost her job. So if I give her the book, she can get her old job back.
Yeah, so Colgate back, or not Colgate, Minuet
It'll
back
fix
there.
everything.
Oh, it's lemon drops, lemon hearts, whatever. This is really mending fences cameos here.
Sign?
Nay.
No sales post.
Oh, I'm not selling anything.
Flim and Flam, not welcome here.
Carolers either. No surveys, no petitions, no free literature.
Does that cover it?
No problem. I'm just looking for some pony who used to live here. I'm pretty sure this was her house.
Dusty Pages?
Yes.
Hold
Oh, no.
on.
Where is she got
She
that
moved
face?
to Silver something. Shoals, Seas, Surfer, whatever.
Silver Shoal!
When you find her, give her this. It's been stacking up for
Okay.
years. And tell her to change her address.
Wow. Okay. So we finally get to see Silver Shoals or whatever it's called. Ooh, interesting. Door to door. Let's finish it. What? Okay. Is that silver mine? Oh. What? Why would you be asking? Did I miss something there?
Silver Stable Community for
I'll
the
have to go back and look
best
at that later.
golden years. This has to be it.
I hope so. It's the last silver spot on the map we haven't looked.
So is she working at a library
This
here?
place is
Terrible, I know. There's not a single bookshelf in sight.
Oh. Is this
Poor
like
Dusty.
retirement home?
Excuse me.
Yes. How may I help you?
Do you have a resident named Dusty Pages?
Oh, yes. Her apartment is in the next complex, ground floor.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I can't believe that my carelessness sent her here. She could be happily surrounded by millions of wonderful smelling books.
You realize that might just be a you thing, right?
You missed it. Thank you.
There she is. Here we go.
Moment of reckoning. Is she not home? Really?
She's bound to be back soon. Maybe we should just wait here.
No, we are fixing this now. This place isn't that big. We can
Twilight,
find her.
patience.
Sorry to interrupt your plein air painting, but we're looking for Dusty Pages. Have you seen her?
Sure have.
Was that Apple Rose? I think is her name. And where have you seen her?
She had to leave early to get to her Bangby de Tea session.
Which is right before she leads the woodworking class with me. Then she's on to windsurfing.
Oh, and don't forget theater rehearsal. Dusty's playing the lead role.
Wow.
Again.
Then
Oh.
there's her band practice later.
Thank you.
Wow, Dusty sounds like one busy pony.
Oh, she's just filling her days with distractions to cover the pain of losing the best job ever. But not for long.
Really? Any applesauce? Oh, the apple. Man, all these old ponies. So many cameos. Well, she is quite the elusive one, isn't she? It's really quite spry, isn't she? Wow. These old timers sure know how to live. Oh, it's all waterlogged now. What? I have questions.
Dusty Pages, finally! Come on, Spike.
Wait.
Wow.
She's pretty happy up there.
Trust me, it's all an act. She'll be a lot happier when I deliver the good news that she can go back to working at the library.
Oh,
Care to
hey.
take 5, every pony?
Oh, Twilight Sparkle, my stars! It's so wonderful to see you. What are you doing here?
I've been looking all over a
Okay,
present.
now we have the moment of
I
reckoning.
need to tell you something.
Well, you brought my mail. Oh, thank you.
No, I mean, yes, we did. But that's not why we're
But?
here. I let you down, and I can't forgive myself until I set things right.
I don't remember you doing anything wrong.
You told me to take special care of a book I checked out.
It's all
from
gonna
the
be a big
Canterlot
misunderstanding, isn't it?
Library, and I never brought it back.
It was you that had that book out? The
Apes.
one that broke my perfect record?
Uh-oh.
But now you can bring it to Canterlot Library and get your job back.
I don't want my job back.
No, thank you. I don't ever need to see that library again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have somewhere to be.
Wow. Okay, there's a little more going on here than you would.
Mind? I don't understand. If Dusty Pages won't go back to Canterlot Library and explain everything, then she won't be able to get her job back. Even worse, her record will remain imperfect.
And yours will, too?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't matter anymore.
Really?
Well, maybe a little bit. Oh no, Bits! The late fines! How much do I
Oh,
owe
no.
now?
An abacus, really?
You don't want to know.
A
It would have been
million
worth all the bits in
bits.
Equestria if I'd made things right
A
with
million
Dusty.
bits.
I wish I knew why she won't go back.
Why don't you ask her?
She didn't seem to want to talk.
You surprised her, and she probably had something else on her schedule. That thing is Pat. Come on.
This is
what
true.
Have you gotta lose?
Now that I've messed up this much, nothing. You're right, Spike. It's worth a try. Where do you think she went? Crochet? Bingo? A squishy fruit food fight tournament?
Hey, every pony, we come in.
This is the best retirement home ever. Oh. Nice.
Stop! We just want to talk to Dusty Pages for a moment. Please?
Time out!
Oh.
Next time, you should rent gear.
We're not actually here for the game.
I
The equivalent of
was hoping you'd give me
paintball,
another
basically.
chance to talk to you about the library book.
This really means a lot to you, doesn't it?
I know I ruined your life by not returning my book on time, and I will do anything I can to make it up to you. Even promise to never take a book out of the library again, if that's what it takes.
Wow.
Is not the reaction we expected.
Yeah, this.
Twilight, dear, you've got it all backwards. I'm not upset with you.
You're not?
No, if I'm mad at any pony, it's me.
Okay. Rest of the story, please.
All those years I spent hiding away in that library, trying to be perfect. When your book never came in, I felt something exhilarating.
What was it?
Freedom.
From books?
From perfection. I was too stubborn to know when to call it quits. It
Oh.
took your mistake to make me realize that I wasn't living the life I wanted.
You mean you weren't fired? You left the library because you wanted to?
Twilight, your late book was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now I'm not afraid to try things I might fail at. In fact, sometimes messing up teaches me more than getting it right.
You're sure you don't want to return it and get that perfect record back?
Oh, good. It was a yellow one. You can still see the words.
Insane!
Well, that doesn't change the truth inside it. Wait, did you even read that thing?
Actually, no. I guess I didn't. Perfection.
And the next part?
The impossible pursuit.
Oh, the
Useful
irony!
to look at earlier.
Your total late fees come to...
However much it is, I'll cover it. Do you have a monthly payment plan?
28 bits.
Wait, what?
That's it?
Yeah, most ponies don't know it caps at a month. Probably because we don't tell them. Thank you. Your account is back to normal. Although we will be taking down your best book borrower picture.
Oh well.
Is that really necessary? It just seems so permanent. I mean, I did return the book, after all.
Is there anyone that's still better than her, though? I mean...
Letting the perfection go. You want me to reshelve this for you?
No, it's an old edition. We've already replaced it with a new copy.
In that case, can we keep it? It might be a good reminder to have around.
Sure, it's got a stain.
Oh.
That's what makes it perfect.
Oh, wow. This is a good story. Is it Tip? Yep, it was Tabitha, yeah. Oh, boy, oh, boy. You know, this is kind of an interesting follow-up to Fame and Misfortune a little bit. You know, the old, we're not flawless, we're work in progress. Yeah, well, as always, I need to go collect my thoughts on this and rewatch and everything. Stay tuned, guys. I will be right back with my thoughts on this. Alright, you know what? This was a great episode. The more I watch this, the more times I rewatch this, the more and more I like this episode. Quite frankly, I'm convinced this is the best GM Barrow episode ever on this show. I'm so happy that this being her last episode, that we got to end on this note. It's interesting that the episode actually had a series premiere flashback, because in many ways it felt an awful lot like a classic FiM episode from the earlier seasons of the show. Had a very strong and clear moral lesson, and stayed on point with that throughout the story. Not a lot of complicated story threads and whatnot. And, honestly, it felt an awful lot like at the end of this there should have been like a Dear Princess Celestial letter. I mean, it was just nice and very well executed, just very well on point, clear lesson. It was great. And the story also perfectly captured, Twilight's adorkableness that we all know and love, yet also showed just exactly how much she has matured over the years and how she's starting to show the signs of being a great leader. Also, I think this is actually the first time we've ever had an episode that is focused entirely on Twilight without any involvement whatsoever from the rest of the main six and any of her friends. So that was a interesting, perspective to see for once. Now, to start with, we have a bit of a nostalgia trip, of course, with for both Twilight and fans alike. Got a fantastic flashback scene showing us a little bit more of what Twilight was like back at the beginning of FiM, including some recycled footage there from all the way back in Season 1, Episode 1. And, I noticed the production staff even made sure that Twilight's lighter purple magic aura color that she had back in the first season was used in the new scenes for this flashback here. Very, very nice attention to detail on that. Nice continuity. Of course, that makes me question whether or not there's an actual in-universe explanation for that as well, like, as to why her aura color changed at all. And I'm thinking maybe perhaps the aura color changes as their magic power level grows, something like that. But ultimately, that's unimportant. It's just a minor curiosity. Twilight, of course, also pulled out a G1 Star Swirl figurine, which is, of course, kind of a playful poke at, I think at least, kind of a poke at how, some fans of the older generations, like Gen 1 of My Little Pony, might come across some old Gen 1 toys as they're cleaning out, a box of stuff from their house or something, things from their childhood. Some would call this toyetic and complain about it. I'm sure there are people doing just that, but honestly, for me, it's just some well-placed meta humor, which I always enjoy seeing. And of course, the nostalgia trip is a bit short-lived because Twilight discovers, horror upon horrors, a long-forgotten library book which completely ruined her perfect record as the best borrower at the Canterlot Library. I do honestly kind of wonder why they had to take a picture down, but I felt like that mark wouldn't necessarily have, tarnished her record to that degree. Like, is there somebody actually better than her? But Mark got to thinking about it. Moondancer's probably got her beat. She's probably also got a perfect record. So there's that. But again, rather unimportant detail in the grand scheme of things. So, Phase 1 of this episode produces a rather typical Twilight freakout, slightly reminiscent of past events such as Lesson 0. But it never really got anywhere near that bad. I thought she handled herself much better in this situation than she would have in the past. Despite trying to not make a public scene, it seems that she had resigned herself to the fact that she had made the mistake, it had happened, and there was no changing that. And all she could do now was return the book as quickly as possible in order to clear her name and make amends by paying the necessary late fees. But then, of course, she finds out that her failure to return the book may very well have ruined the life of another pony, one that she likely was very good friends with, and knowing how Twilight was back then, perhaps one of very few friends she actually had at all. And of course, it does stand to reason that, why on earth would this librarian have gotten fired over one single book return failure? That doesn't really track, but honestly, given Twilight's state of mind in this, and in her, the way she jumps to conclusions about things like this, it's understandable that she wasn't really thinking straight at that point. And just like in Amending Fences, once again we see Twilight kind of haunted by the fallout of her rapid departure from Canterlot. On that note, it was fun to see all of her friends from Amending Fences make cameo appearances in this episode, including Moondancer, who even got a few more speaking lines after all of this time. I am curious as to whether she's actually been making use of Twilight's study or not, especially now that it seems like Celestia is cleaning that out. But again, minor detail. So anyway, Twilight then put aside her own concerns about her tarnished record and set out to find Dusty Pages to try and help her get her job back, not realizing, of course, that she had no desire to actually go back to work at that library. And, the speed and ease with which Twilight set aside her own personal pride in order to right a wrong just blew me away. Because this shows significant maturity on Twilight's part, especially for, something that's so near and dear to her heart, namely books and libraries and librarians. After all, she was a librarian herself for a long time. Celestia very recently said that a great leader is willing to admit when a mistake has been made and has the courage to make it right. At this point, it's pretty clear that whether she realizes it or not, Twilight has done very well in fulfilling this expectation on multiple occasions. And I also noticed several other moments in here where Twilight showed a lot of restraint in preventing herself from completely freaking out or even lashing out in anger or in frustration at some of the ponies in Silver Stables. And, meaning she's improving on getting control of her own emotions and keeping a level head in order to gracefully deal with the situation. I spent a good chunk of the last two commentaries talking about things that Twilight will need to do to prepare herself for the role of ruler of Equestria. And already I'm seeing her make great strides in this regard. It's because of this is why I truly believe that she is nearly ready to take over for Celestia and Luna. All that said, though, the story wasn't so much about making amends for past mistakes as it was dealing with the trap of perfectionism. Of course, we're all well aware of how much of a perfectionist Twilight is. Some of her ideology includes some concepts such as, if it's worth doing at all, it's worth doing right. If there's a rulebook for it, I will study it in order to make sure I do it perfectly. If there's no rulebook for it, I will invent one. And if I fail at any task, the world is basically doomed. And in a lot of the cases that we've seen, it's more her personal world that's doomed, not necessarily the whole of Equestria. And a lot of the pressure she was under was self-inflicted because she couldn't bear the thought of letting down her teacher Celestia, the pony who she idolized more than any other. That's what gave us moments like Lesson 0, and even her unwillingness to give up when trying to hatch Spike's dragon egg back when she was a filly. But these days, it really is becoming more about Equestria as a whole, the safety of Equestria and whatnot, which, of course, adds a lot of pressure on her to continue trying to be perfect. Twilight has a very good heart, and she truly desires to be friends with everyone and to live out and share all the lessons that she's learned, which is why she started her friendship school. But along with that, I think she's scared to death that, given her enormous level of responsibility, she will end up making a mistake at some point that will result in serious harm coming to someone. She's probably scared that she wouldn't be able to live with the guilt of any of her mistakes resulting in any of her friends being hurt. And I think this is a big part of why she continues to freak out as badly as she does whenever something bad happens. Now that said, there's even more to it with Twilight, in that she's let her perfectionism get a little out of control. Now it's certainly not wrong. It's not wrong to want to strive for perfection, and I would even say that's better than it's better to do that than to become apathetic. However, you can swing too far to the other extreme as well. Twilight, due to both her personal pride, general personality, and also her fears, has pushed herself to the limit in many areas, including academics, organizational skills, even learning friendship lessons. By doing so, she has set the bar very high for herself, both in terms of her own sense of accomplishment and in terms of others' expectations for her. Because she does so many things so well and so consistently, others tend to expect her to continue to perform at that level, meaning she's now stuck in a trap where she doesn't want to let either herself or anyone else down. Of course, she has let others down many times, and she's apologized and made amends for those mistakes. But that probably just made her all the more determined to push herself to never make any mistakes ever again, which frankly is an impossible achievement, and only sets herself up to fail again. And actually, it's kind of ironic that Twilight's own attempts to achieve perfection are actually causing her to make even more mistakes than she might otherwise have done. And everyone makes mistakes. No matter how much we try to learn from our mistakes and improve ourselves, we will continue to make mistakes, be it the same ones again, because we don't always just learn a lesson and perfectly, practice that lesson from that point forward. Sometimes we got to learn the same lesson many times, or we may make a lot of new mistakes too. There's always another page, another chapter in the book of life, and more opportunities for mistakes. Of course, that doesn't mean we should just give up and not even bother trying to improve. Mistakes are how we learn and grow as individuals. Just because we make mistakes doesn't mean we aren't growing. It just means we have more opportunities to grow even more. Now that Twilight hopefully understands this, perhaps she'll finally be able to let go of some of the things that have been holding her back. If you're too much of a perfectionist, it's so easy to get into a rut where you're too afraid to actually try new things or take any risks, and rather just stick to what you know, because there's a much greater chance of you losing your image as being perfect. This is something that Dusty Pages learned after her own record of a perfect return rate was ruined. She realized that she'd been so caught up in her efforts to maintain this record that she had locked herself in that library away for far too long and didn't realize that she was missing out on so many other experiences that the world had to offer. Even Twilight has been in this position at times, as we saw back in What About Discord, where she had spent so much time inside her castle, needlessly reorganizing her entire library, that she missed out on a lot of fun with her friends. And also in that episode, we saw that she was stuck thinking that it shouldn't be possible for her to be jealous of others because she's the princess of friendship, which is yet another example of how she thinks that because of the position that she's in, she needs to be perfect and will be viewed as a complete and utter failure if she doesn't maintain that image. Again, it's her own attempts to be perfect that are actually holding her back from truly living up to her potential. Now, another thing that we often fail to realize is that our mistakes can result in some very positive outcomes that can benefit both ourselves and others around us. As Bob Ross once said, we don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. Of course, that doesn't necessarily apply to every situation. There's some pretty serious mistakes people make sometimes, but it certainly applies here. In the story, if Twilight hadn't made the mistake of forgetting to return that book all those years ago, then Dusty Pages might still be stuck at that library, still not knowing all the great things that she was missing out on. And I also have to wonder what Twilight's own life would look like today if she had actually read that book back when she first got it. If she had read it, maybe she wouldn't have ended up being stuck in her perfectionist routine, and that means she wouldn't have gone to live in Ponyville. And we saw back in Season 5 many different ways in which her not moving to Ponyville and meeting her friends there would have been very, very bad for Equestria. Assuming that to be the possible alternative outcome, then it's definitely a good thing that she made that mistake of losing track of that book all that time ago. So it's funny how mistakes can be beneficial sometimes. And I have heard some comments about how Twilight's behavior in this episode supposedly contradicts what happened back in Fame and Misfortune with the whole Flawless song and whatnot. I don't have a lot of details on what those complaints were, but I don't personally find that to be a conflict at all. Admitting that you're a flawed individual who makes mistakes and striving for perfection are really two entirely different things. Just because somebody is willing to admit that they make mistakes doesn't mean they stop trying to improve themselves or maintain their own personal standards. That this was a matter of personal pride for Twilight, as she practically worships the library and wouldn't dream of ever breaking any library rules. So it's really quite understandable that she would be upset in this situation. Now, on a side note, I'm very, very interested in that new book that the librarian was showing Twilight. The title of which was Moon Curve's 7 Theories on Bending Time. Lines of dialogue like this make me feel like obvious foreshadowing, just as we saw with the storybook Twilight picked up in Season 7 that mentioned Grogar and Gusty the Great. Now that's come to fruition. I'm now predicting that before this season is done, we're going to see some kind of time travel adventure, very likely involving Grogar himself, with the past and his bell and everything. I'm thinking something's going to happen. I just don't know exactly what. Also, the new pony name of Moon Curve sounds rather intriguing, and I suspect that might be a character that we will yet meet this season. I kind of hope we do. And so far, no pony else other than Star Swirl has been known to work on any kind of time travel spells or theory or anything, so this is indeed a very interesting development. But that aside, there was another thing about that book. I noticed that it contained a drawing of the melting clock from the famous painting The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. Now, a friend of mine directed me to a quote made by that famous artist. He said, "Mistakes are almost always of a sacred nature. Never try to correct them. On the contrary, rationalize them, understand them thoroughly. After that, it will be possible for you to sublimate them." Now, to save you the trouble of finding a dictionary, to sublimate means to improve or refine something. In this context, it means that if you stop trying to erase your mistakes and instead accept that they were made and learn from them, you will be able to turn them into something much more valuable than the initial, negative outcome of that mistake. I don't know whether or not this quote was actually in the mind of whoever decided to insert the picture of the clock into that book, but regardless, those are very wise words and very relevant to the lesson that was presented in this episode. And on that note, I would kind of like to offer a little bit of an object lesson. So just to give you a scenario, let's say you're angry about something and you lash out in anger. Oops. I'm sorry. Does sorry fix the can? No. I mean, you can do what you can. You can try and say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me try and make that right. Let me help you." You may have done, repaired a little bit, but there's still dents. There's still creases. The can will never be the same as it was when you started. This is a mistake. One example of a mistake. When you lash out at someone, you can say sorry, you can try to make amends, but what happened. You can't ever undo what happened. So that's why you say, okay, what caused me to make the mistake in the first place? And how do I make sure that it never happens again? Because I don't want to do that ever again. Even if it's something as basic and utterly meaningless as like, oh, I misspelled the word, I need to go back and correct that. Sure, you can, especially if you're typing it on a computer, you can erase any trace that it was ever spelled wrong in the first place. But the mistake was still made, and you still had to spend the time to go back and correct it. So mistakes are made. It's in the past. You can't change that. All you can do is learn from your mistakes, try to improve, and move forward. Learn from it. That's the key thing. Learn from it and move forward and keep growing. So, powerful lesson in this episode. Again, I like this episode more and more every time I rewatch this. So, the season is off to an absolute fantastic start. Very strong start. I love where things are going. Can't wait to see more. Thanks for everyone for watching with me, and I hope to see you again soon next time. Later.